Hello, I'm John Bachman.
And I'm Wybetta Bullock.
And we're delighted to welcome you to the premiere edition of MOSAIC.
We've created a special phrase to describe this new video magazine produced by the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. And that phrase is, "This is MOSAIC, and you are a part of it."
We really mean that. MOSAIC is about you and people like you who make up the marvelous texture and multicolored ministry of this great church. And that means the MOSAIC crew will be traveling across the nation, even internationally on occasion, in order to share your story and the story of your ministries with the rest of our church.
This is MOSAIC, and you're a part of it, also means that we want to hear from you about those special people and ministries in your corner of the church. We'll talk to you more about that later on in the program.
MOSAIC is also about life issues and situations that concern us as a church. And the first feature for this premiere edition of MOSAIC deals with one of those issues. It's an issue which to many is controversial and which may seem to require a balanced view. The question is, can there be a balanced view when it comes to the killing, beating, and tear gassing of children and adults? This is the Holy Land, or at least for many, this is the heart of the Holy Land. This is Jerusalem, and together with the rest of Israel, it indeed conveys the popular image of a land filled with quaint narrow streets and picturesque old buildings, a land of holy people and holy sites, all neatly surrounded by the barren expanses of the Judean desert. But this is also the Holy Land, its streets filled with tear gas, gunfire, and the screams of children, women, and men. This is a Holy Land where 800,000 men, women, and children live under fetid conditions, often sealed off from free movement by steel drum barriers and Israeli soldiers. Over 6,000 miles away and lost in a maze of political and religious issues, we may feel this face of the Holy Land has little to do with us as a church, but in fact, it has everything to do with us.
To me, the Palestinian question is a moral issue. You cannot use two yardsticks. You cannot give certain people human rights and deny the Palestinians their own rights. And our human rights have been violated at every level. So it's the duty of every Christian, every moral person, Christian or non-Christian or otherwise, to stand up and to speak out and to defend human rights.
Many of the people, they don't know. If you will say, I am from Israel, the Holy Land, and you must be a Jew. Well, we tell them we are Arabs. Oh, you are then Muslims. But we are neither Jews nor Muslims. Many of our friends, our Christian brothers and sisters who come to this country, they may pass us by. They pass this street and they never realize that there is a group of Christians.
There are Palestinian Arab Christians, among them Palestinian Lutherans, who live and whose ancestors have always lived and worshipped in Israel. There is an English-speaking Lutheran congregation in Jerusalem. There are ELCA clergy and lay people who serve in this fragmented land. And through the LWF, LWR, and the World Council of Churches, you are here. This is Augusta Victoria Hospital, located on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. Augusta Victoria is funded largely through the Lutheran World Federation. The patient is an 18-year-old Palestinian who was shot by Israeli soldiers as he stood watching a demonstration. Bleeding and in pain, a United Nations ambulance sought to transport him to a nearby hospital. Israeli soldiers stopped the ambulance and forced him to return to his home to get his Palestinian identity card before they would allow him to proceed for medical care.
If you like, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. This happens very often. It happens with older people, people in our ages and even older. They just happen to be passing and they get wounded. We've had people in their 70s who have been wounded by the fact that there had been a mass attack on everybody, and these people happen to be there. He says, if you want his sincere opinion, he believes that the Israelis are behaving like the Nazis and the Hitlerian army, and that they are savages, They have no regard for human dignity or people, and if I can, I would like to get revenge from them. This is what he said.
And I think whatever you have seen through the media, radio, television, whatnot, is really only a very small fraction of what the Palestinian people have been suffering during these 10 months.
The defense minister of Israel adopted the policy of beating people, where he allowed his soldiers who were holding the clubs to beat people, not only to beat, they were ordered to break the bone. For instance, they were knocking door by door, beating the people. And we have many lists here where 5 or 6, 7 persons in one home were beaten. The average of ages was between 12 and 70.
I was arrested from street, and after 2 or 3 hours my husband was arrested from home. And my family didn't know where I was for 3 days.
Amal Wadan is a Palestinian mother of 3 children. Since 1978, she and her husband have belonged to organizations which have worked for human rights for the Palestinian people. For this reason, both have been harassed, placed under town arrest, undergone the loss of their jobs, and finally imprisoned under brutal conditions. Amal Wadan's husband remains in prison and will soon be deported.
So I was sent to this section, to a solitary confinement of about 2 by 2 meters, full of trash, mosquitoes, flies, rats, what have you. Usually prisoners do not have the right to eat or to use the toilet. They have to pee in the same closet. So someone can imagine what the smell can be there. And I wasn't able to have to wash myself. There is no soap, there is no toilet paper, there is no towels. The clothes that you have on, you have to keep wearing them all the time. The sessions of interrogations last between 2 and 5 hours of talks like this. They never faced me with any charge. They only wanted to break my nerves. They usually threatened me to deport my husband and to deport me, and that I will never see my children again. During that time, I never had a chance to see my children. And this was a very hard time for me to think of my children, to think what's their life look like after they lost their mother and father, and especially the little boy who wasn't even 2 years yet. And finally he's going to be deported. It's tearing the family apart, and it's another crime. Deportation itself is another crime, besides killing and tear gassing people, demolishing their houses, torturing them. It's something in additional that can be added to the other crimes that has been taken against our people.
He's only 11 years old, and he was shot maybe 1 month ago, because I was here when he was shot. It was an M16 bullet with entry in his left hypochondrium. This means upper part of the abdomen, right side, and outlet from the other side. It hit everything in her way, in its way, the liver, the stomach, the small bowel, the large bowel, the kidney. He said that he can, if he's cured, he will throw stones again. He said that why they took our land, they are now killing us and entering our homes and beating us. That's why he's throwing stones.
The uprising is not only throwing stones. It's assuring their identity as Palestinian people, as humans. People who want to have independence and want to have their own state like any other people in the whole world.
That's obviously very difficult to watch, John, especially the shooting of 11-year-old children. You know, it might be different if these were occasional isolated incidents, but they're not isolated incidents, are they?
No, they're not, Wivetta. The incidents of children and young people being seriously wounded, beaten, and killed are not only becoming very widespread, but as we will see in the next edition of Mosaic, when we continue this three-part series, it's unquestionably intentional. The one thing we must emphasize, however, is that this is the policy of the controlling powers in the Israeli government and of a large segment of the Israeli military. It is not the policy of all Jewish people, and we will hear from some of those individuals in later segments of this tragic story.
John, our next feature brings us 6,000 miles back across the ocean to the Bronx in New York. Transfiguration Lutheran Church was once a thriving Hispanic congregation of the Caribbean Synod. Times changed, the neighborhood changed, and the congregation dwindled to a handful of people who in several ways almost closed the doors. But then people in the neighborhood started hearing noises around Transfiguration, and it wasn't just the noise of jets passing overhead on their final approach to LaGuardia.
The first time that my husband and I came to the neighborhood, it was February, it was cold, and it was raining. And nobody was outside, everybody was inside, so there was no human life on the streets, and it looked pretty grim because all you could see is through the gray rain was the kind of worst side of the Bronx. During the week, the church was locked. There was nothing going on here. In fact, when I came, a lot of people in the neighborhood didn't realize this was a church. They really didn't know what it was. There was a building there that was locked up. I don't think that there are more serious problems here in one sense. I think that, for instance, in the suburbs, the devil is just as active as in the city. But there are serious problems of evil here. People, because of poverty, have reached a point, in many cases, of just feeling that they don't matter anymore, and that others don't matter anymore. They've given up on themselves, given up on God, feel that God has given up on them, and given up on their community. That makes people more easily victims and prey to drugs. Crack now, which is a new drug in the past few years, has really taken its toll because it's so quickly addictive, so that a person that just tries it once may be immediately addicted. We have people who have been leaders in our church that have struggling with that. Teenagers, children. I would say that in our Sunday school of about 60 children, there may be a handful, on one hand, of children who do not have a drug problem somewhere in their family. It's or their close friends. It's something that's close to everybody, and it's absolutely destructive.
Well, I have an uncle. He's 20 years old. He dropped out of school when he was 17. He's on drugs and he steals, and he's changed everything. It's like we don't hardly get to talk. It's changed the way he acts and how we used to have fun. It affected everything, really. He hurts grandma's feelings a lot. He takes the food and stuff, and that's really bad. It shows a bad impression, and sometimes you be embarrassed. The church is really good. It's a place to go to when you have a problem or you need help. A lot of kind people here, people that share the same experiences you have.
My mother started abusing me physically and emotionally, and I've been going to a psychiatrist since then. I've been going to therapy because in 1986 I attempted suicide because I'm still kind of lonely. I still didn't get my bad feelings out about my mother and about things going on in life. This church and Pastor Newmark means so much to me because sometimes it hurts. Love hurts. And it's hard for me to love and trust sometimes because I've been hurt in the past so much. So this church made me feel like part of the family. And I could relate with the children a lot because I wanted that love and I wanted that attention.
Our after-school program started very simply. Our church has a very good location right across the street from the school. So when I first came to the church, since it had been locked up for so long, I just opened the doors and stood on the street and talked with kids to get to know them on their way home from school. We find in the after-school program many, many children who have been abused physically and sexually. The program focuses on helping the children with their homework. But I think even more importantly than that, it's a kind of after-school home for a lot of children. It's a place where they can grow in their self-esteem and feel that they're loved and that they belong. And that's what we try and do here in all that we do. Enable people themselves to discover that they are precious in the eyes of the Lord, and that whether they're little children or teenagers that can paint the gospel on the doors and talk with their friends, or adults. I see that happening every day. When I came to the church, the doors were covered with graffiti, which was kind of, I guess, the neighborhood's opinion of the church. And I got kind of bored painting over the graffiti every day, and thought, well, it'd be more fun to paint something else. People watch it, people stop and ask. It attracts a lot of attention, and it attracts attention to the gospel on the doors of the church. And I think that as Lutherans, we have a good precedent for painting what we believe, putting what we believe on our doors.
I first started coming to this church. I came to a karate class, and I kept on coming, and the pastor asked me to come to a Sunday school class. And from then on, I kept on coming.
My son, every day, he used to disappear. So my mother and me, we should ask him, where have you been? Oh, I was in church taking karate. We said, what, taking karate in church? He said, yeah. The next day, where have you been? Oh, I was in church taking art in church. So every day he used to come up with something that he was in church. So then he said, Mom, I'm making my communion. We said, what? So me, my mother, my sister, my rest of the family, we all came for the first time 3 years ago, and we're still here, all of us.
Pastor Newart talked to me about being a pastor, and I thought about it once in a while, and sometimes it's like a good challenge to preach the word of God.
No, listen again. When Francine reads the first reading, it should be quiet. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, y del Espíritu Santo, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. The most important thing we do here is worship. That's the center of who we are and why we are. And out of that flows everything we do, and that's what gives us the strength to be here. Well, my hope would be that people, when they think of the South Bronx, not just think of a place that's filled with drugs and burnout buildings and problems and wasted people, dead bones, but see the bones coming to life, see the power of the Spirit working among God's people of all places here, and have a sense of joy and being uplifted rather than discouragement and isn't that a bad place? This isn't a bad place. This is a holy place. It's God's place, and I'm glad that it's the place where God has called us to be in ministry.
Those dry bones will live again. That imagery from Ezekiel really seems to come to life when one sees what's happening at Transfiguration.
It does, John. And it's obviously happened because of the marvelous spirit of the pastor and the people of the congregation, empowered through God's Holy Spirit. And the people of the ELCA can feel a special kinship with the people of Transfiguration because we're part of that ministry through our gifts and partnership support that they receive from the Division for Outreach.
And that spirit and partnership are also evident in our next feature, Wivetta. It takes place among the beautiful people and hills of Appalachia near Somerset, Kentucky. Many people may not realize that the Lutheran Church has a rich history of ministry in this region. This feature provides an all too brief snapshot of some of that ministry, which is also funded by the ELCA. It operates out of Redeemer Lutheran Church in Somerset and is narrated by the friends and colleagues of Gene Christensen, who, by the way, is often referred to as Chris.
There's a stereotype that Appalachians run around barefoot and in bib overalls and chewing tobacco and are poor and ignorant, can't take care of themselves. Those kinds of stereotypes are very damaging to people.
And if they could see some of the wonderful work that the Lutheran Church has sponsored just in this vicinity of Kentucky, and the many, many people, whether they're Lutherans, Baptists, no faith at all, that have benefited from this outreach and this love, mission work wouldn't be hard to get across to the people at all. But living in the Baptist Bible Belt with 50 or 60 Baptist churches and one Lutheran church, people are often unaware of what we even believe in. They'll constantly ask, well, what is a Lutheran? But almost invariably, it kind of clicks and, oh, Gene Christensen. And if there's anything that makes people aware that we exist and what our church does do as a ministry, it would be through Chris's work. There's not an area, I don't believe you could find a road in this community that Chris didn't know. She goes way, way out where there's no electricity. We still have many areas of our community with no running water, no electricity, where people walk a mile to get decent drinking water, where people are virtually isolated from the rest of the world a lot of the time.
I think Jean's ministry is successful because she has the gift of being with people, of accepting them as they are and walking with them through whatever situation they be in at the time. And that's a powerful gift.
When Chris visits these people, she lives these situations with them. Every moment of it. She cries with them. She laughs with them. She prays with them.
Elizabeth has a wonderful sense of humor. And she loves to laugh. And she makes me laugh. And she's also a very warm lady that feels very deeply. And she makes me cry too. Are you doing okay?
Well, I've seen better days, but I have been younger. I am now. When you get old, they get wore out, honey. The old bones gets tired. The old arms gets tired. You get tired all over. You hurt all over. But there was another one come on my birthday and took me out and bought ice cream, and we went to the park and watched the squirrels play. We just had a good time. Played like two children. I sure did miss that little girl when she left.
Would you like to read something?
No, honey, I can't. I have to spell my words as I go along.
You probably...
I can't read for nobody.
Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied.
Don't cry, honey.
These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you.
Love one another. That's a wonderful thing to think about, ain't it? To love one another. as he has loved us and does love us. Do we love one another like that?
Heavenly Father, I ask you to put your arms around Elizabeth and help her to rest in your love. Comfort her when she is alone and help her to feel your presence. We just thank you that you are here with us.
He's bound to love us a lot, or he wouldn't give his life. He wouldn't have died on the cross for us. See, he shed his blood for us that we might be saved, that we wouldn't be lost. And then they'll go around saying,
Out on the front porch swinging, can't you hear the children singing? Singing in the green hills of home. Can't you hear the nighthawk calling? Can't you see the fireflies glowing, lighting up the green hills of home? And I've seen the ocean's mighty rumble, and I've seen the wheat fields of the west, and I've seen the Rockies and the canyons, but it's these old green hills I love the best.
Need we say more?
I think not.
Then let's say goodbye for now, and we look forward to being with you on the next segment of Mosaic, when we will look at the effects that warlike conditions in Israel have on the children, in part 2 of Holy Land, Land of Fear, Land of Hope.
That and other stories of people, ministries, and concerns of the ELCA. And again, we want to hear your suggestions as to what and where those stories are. So please write us. Mosaic, Commission for Communication, the ELCA, 8765 West Higgins Road, Chicago, Illinois, 60631. And remember, this is Mosaic and you are a part of it.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.